I think you could say that I grew up as expected. I desperately tried to make friends with any dog or cat that I saw, and I would eagerly open up every toy that came with a Happy Meal. My leather sneakers would light up with every step, and my shirt would feature whichever animal was my favorite for that week. I'd play in that creek behind our neighborhood for hours on end, until my parents would inevitably call us in for dinner. Our schools taught us about the various life cycles of animals, and that dairy was an important piece of every meal. It wasn't until I was 15, however, when I would realize I wanted to make a huge change to my lifestyle. I guess it all started at that natural desire to be more independent of your parents, and I figured that I could start with grocery shopping. My mom, bless her soul, just never seemed to want to buy the foods that I wanted, and frankly, I could shop much more efficiently than her style of spending hours in the store every Sunday as she carefully browsed through every aisle. Now, I cannot remember what I said to convince her, but she ended up giving me a weekly allowance of $20 to spend on my own groceries. It was a great setup from the start, but I soon discovered that I'd feel better buying healthy foods rather than not. There was a problem in that though. I didn't fully understand what a proper diet entailed. Fortunately, thanks to being born following the advent of the World Wide Web, I was able to learn a lot and intelligently cultivate an inexpensive but nutrient-dense diet built around beans, rice, peanut butter, tuna, and eggs. I believe the change came about a month or so into my venture, when I was watching a YouTube tutorial on how to hard-boil eggs, when I was recommended a 20-plus minute video titled, "What's Wrong with Eggs?" by YouTuber Erin Janis. Honestly, I only clicked on it on a whim. Her video detailed the immense amount of stress commercial hens are subjected to during the egg-laying process, how male chicks are instantly disregarded and slaughtered, and how the egg industry has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to keep consumers in the dark. While I was immediately grateful for having listened to her perspective as it challenged concepts and ideas which I had so seldom considered, it was ultimately my own skepticism of her video that led me to seek out more knowledge on the subject, which made me decide to become vegan that day. My research found that the majority of opposition to veganism was simply fallacious, or worse, malicious. I found that the concept of a food chain has no basis in our modernity, that there's enough options available to me to keep me healthy and entertained, and that other animals are just as entitled to their lives as us humans are. The truth is just that the way humanity treats the other denizens of this planet is absurd. We as Americans exist in a culture that encourages an indifference to an industry that unnecessarily mass breeds hundreds of millions of sentient animals into a life of torture and slaughter, only for the sake of our own custom and pleasure. Our society will prioritize monetary gain over the well-being of individuals, something that is horrifyingly apparent in the meat, dairy, and egg industries. Furthermore, I've learned that factory farming and the overconsumption of animal products are detrimental to our environment and public health. I refuse to give my money to such an unethical and irresponsible practice. I can't think of another time where my worldview was so profoundly impacted within the span of a single half hour. In the years since, my philosophy has gained a great amount of nuance, and now more than ever, I recognize that the idea of changing one's own lifestyle is just often a very difficult subject to tackle psychologically, and any substantial change will need to be systemic rather than individual. That being said, I'll always be able to spread awareness of how we treat other life forms. If I could just change the perspective of others in the same way mine was changed that day, we can accomplish something.